I'm pleased to present the monthly financial and operations report for the period ending December 31st, 2013. Our office is projecting an ending fund balance of $163.1 million for FY 2014. This is $16.5 million lower than the projection of the Finance Department. We've increased our revenue projections by $13.6 million over last month's projection. $11.5 million of that was due to higher taxable values and property taxes. Sales tax was increased $3.2 million, and that's to reflect collections through November. Other taxes, which were mainly our mixed beverage receipts, and that's over $4 million. We also increased our transfer from other funds of $772,000. That's for increased hot taxes. So industrial assessments are $1 million lower. As I said before, sales tax revenues are $6.1 million lower than the Finance Department. The other taxes, as I said before, $1 million on the higher mixed-use taxes, mixed beverage taxes. Licenses and permits are $1.3 million lower. We're projecting lower burglar alarm and administrative fee receipts. Charges for services are $1.7 million lower. Interest is $1 million lower, reflecting lower cash balances and lower interest rates. Expenditure projections increased a total of $13.1 million, as we talked about yesterday. Fire increased $10.5 million for overtime, pension, and workers' comp. The health decreased $2.4 million, and that's for the Section 1115 waivers. Police increased $1.3 million, mainly for workers' comp. The general government increased $4.9 million, that's for legal fees, health for limited purposes and annexations, and the hot tax payments. In the enterprise fund, the aviation operating fund, we've increased our projection for operating revenues at $3.6 million, and that's for parking and concession revenues. Operating expenses were increased at $1.1 million, and that's for higher personnel costs. These changes caused the operating transfer projection to increase $1.9 million. In the convention and entertainment facilities operating fund, our projection for non-operating revenues increased $3.8 million, and that's also related to the hot tax. Our projection for the combined utility system operating expenses decreased $1.3 million, and that's mainly for savings in personnel. Non-operating revenues were increased $3 million for higher than expected impact fees, impact fee revenue. Operating transfers decreased $14.2 million, and that's from lower interest costs on personal and bonds. In the dedicated drainage and street renewal fund, expenditures were decreased $1.5 million, and that's mainly for savings in personnel. And finally, in the stormwater operating fund, the expenditures decreased $444,000, and that's also for savings in personnel. Our commercial paper and bonds are outlined in the MOFAR. If you have any questions regarding those different levels of variable rate debt, we'd be glad to talk to you about that after the meeting. Mr. Mayor, I'll go forward. Mr. Mayor, first I'll go forward to the quarterly swap report. The quarterly swap report has been presented to you. The city has net interest earnings for the first two quarters of fiscal year 2014 of $1,479,924. $1,000. If you have any other questions regarding the swaps, we'll be glad to go into further detail. We'd also like to present the quarterly investment report. As many of you know, we've got $2.8 billion invested in our general investment pool. As of December 31st, the general pool is yielding a little over 85 basis points, down a little bit from last quarter, about 90 basis points. If you have any other questions regarding the quarterly investment report, we would be glad to go into further detail for that.
Thank you. Good morning. This is the second quarter financial report, which is, of course, based off of 6 months of actual results and 6 months of projections. We're currently projecting ending fund balance of $179.5 million. That's approximately $1.6 million less than last month and 9.7% of expenditures less debt service. Our projection for revenues and other sources increased by $11.5 million. That's mainly due to the following forecast changes. In property taxes, we increased our projection by $15.7 million due to higher taxable values. We decreased our telephone franchise projection by $300,000 due to lower second quarter receipts. Under licenses and permits, we increased that projection by $712,000, mainly due to higher burglar alarm permit collections. In our intergovernmental transfers, we're projecting this decrease by $1.9 million due to delays in various projects related to the Texas 1115 waiver project. And indirect interfund services, our transfer there is projected to decrease by $1 million due to lower grant reimbursements. Our municipal court fine and forfeit projection decreased by $2.6 million, mainly due to lower ticket issuance for moving violations. And then in transfers and other funds, our projection there is increasing by $772,000 due to higher hotel occupancy tax collections. In our expenditures and other uses, our projection there increased by $13.1 million from last month, mainly due to the following. There was a $2.8 million health benefit savings in various departments, offset by an increase of $4.3 million in increase in workers' compensation payments for both the police and fire department. $8.5 million increase in the fire department due to higher costs for overtime, pensions, and additional cadet classes. A $1.9 million decrease in the health department due to the aforementioned delays in various projects related to the Texas 1115 waiver. And finally, a $4.8 million increase in general government to reflect three things. One, limited purpose annexation payments in the amount of $2 million due to higher sales tax that we passed through to the LPAs. A lawsuit settlement for higher termination pay in the fire department for $2 million, and higher hotel occupancy tax collection in the amount of $772,000, which is also passed through. In the enterprise and special revenue funds, we agree with the controller on all these enterprise fund projections, so I will move to the health benefit fund, where there our revenues are projected to decrease by $2 million as a result of rate adjustments or city contributions, but expenditures are decreasing by $22 million, mainly due to downward trend in claims activity. In the workers' compensation fund, our operating revenues and expenditures increased by $3.9 million due to higher claims in the police and fire department. In the asset forfeiture fund, our revenues increased by $442,000, primarily due to additional confiscation judgments. In the building inspection fund, the revenues increased by $3.8 million due to increased permit activities, and we also had a decrease in expenditures of $604,000 due to personnel savings. In the digital automated red light enforcement program, their revenues are decreasing by $2.2 million due to lower than anticipated collections, and as a result, you have an expenditure decrease of $1.6 million due to lower payments to the state. In the Essential Public Health Services Fund, we have the issue with the delays from the Texas 1115 waiver that are decreasing revenues by $2.2 million, and expenditures are decreasing by $3.8 as a result of project delays as well as personnel savings. In the Parking Management Fund, our expenditures decreased by $681,000, mainly due to personnel savings. And finally, in the Park Special Revenue Fund, our revenues increased by $579,000 due to lawsuit settlements reached with the city attorney. Thank you very much, and that concludes our report.
Chair recognizes Councilmember Pennington.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. As you know, we had a substantial discussion yesterday at the Finance and Budget Committee about proper procedures for getting additional proposed expenses approved. I think that adherence to a budget begins with following those procedures. And I don't feel like that we've done that in the case of several expenditures yesterday. And I just wanted you to know that I put out a press release to that effect today. And I would like to see some response about how we're going to handle those proposed expenditures and the proposed additional revenues in the future. The council has limited authority over things, one of them being budgetary expenditures, and so I'm sure everybody at the table would like to see a procedure that's adhered to be certain that we have the proper information, because priorities have to be established if there's a proposal to spend additional money. There are needs for additional money in a lot of different areas, and so I think the role of council is to decide on the priorities and to actually approve or not approve the funds. Thank you very much.
Yes, as you said, there was healthy dialogue yesterday, and as we said yesterday, this wasn't a choice undertaken, unfortunately, by the fire department in the overtime case that we discussed yesterday. It was more an issue in, I believe, in forecasting, and we will absolutely respond to your memo and look forward to sharing more in the future around how we're going to strengthen policies and procedures for accountability related to surprises such as these. So, like I said, look forward to responding to your memo.
Well, thank you very much. I'm just looking for a mentality where you feel the necessity to present those items to us. Thank you very much.
Councilmember Moore.
Yes, sir. Appreciate the comments, Councilmember Pennington. The way to address this, in my opinion, is to keep track of the monthly financial report. The minute they step over their budget, you vote against everything anyone brings forward within that department. That's how you maintain budget integrity. The minute this council allows anyone to spend over the budget, it's going to be a trickle-down effect when any department can exceed the budget. This council doesn't have a great deal of power, but we do have the power in that front, and that is, the minute you find out that they're over budget, their expenditures from this council, from an RCA, must stop.
Councilman Bradford.
Thank you, Mayor. Good morning. I have a question for Mr. Feldman, City Attorney David, if you don't mind, just a minute here. Part of the discussion yesterday had to do with the Pennington-Martin amendment that we passed the last budget cycle, kind of limiting residual funds to be deferred for utilization toward the fund balance and debt service, simply trying to protect the city going forward and really prospectively get a grasp on some of the unfunded liabilities out there. And it was said that, well, let's not go there. Here's my question. Once council approved that budget amendment, that became the law. That became the governing instrument as it relates to the budget, and council shouldn't have to do anything else. That decision has been made that any expenditure that goes above the FY14 allocation cannot happen without council coming back revisiting that ordinance. Is that?
That is correct.
Okay.
That's the effect of the amendment.
Thank you. I do appreciate that. So therefore, as long as we are within the FY14 expenditures, the administration has authority to move money around as she sees fit, as long as she doesn't exceed that FY14 spending authority.
That's correct.
Thank you very much.
That's correct, also.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you.
And just as a reminder as well, we also can't preempt the collective bargaining process that is currently underway between the city and the fire department as well. So we have to keep that in mind as we work through some of these issues and we consider what options may be on the table. Is that process is underway right now, and so discussions are taking place. Chair recognizes the chair of the Budget Fiscal Affairs Committee, Councilman Costello.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. And yes, indeed, yesterday's committee meeting was a rather lively committee meeting relative to this particular item. And Kelly, correct me if I'm wrong, but really the final resolution of the budget occurs in the general appropriations activity. Is that correct?
That is correct. We bring forward a final ordinance that the controller certifies there are funds available for which we can spend from, and then it is up to council to decide whether what the administration has proposed is acceptable.
Okay, and Mr. Feldman, what we talked about yesterday about not approving the MOPR, this is really simply a report of the status. It's not necessarily a council action because it's a general appropriations activity is really what solidifies everything in terms of expenditures.
That's correct. It has no substantive effect. You're just receiving the report.
So basically, council members, I'm going to make a motion to, after everyone is done discussing, we're going to make a motion to accept this. It's basically accepting the report, not necessarily accepting the activity of concurring that the administration is going to add the extra money into the fire budget. I mean, I'm going to encourage the administration to come back to us in very short order to tell us how they're going to handle this issue relative to the Pennington-Martin amendment and relative to accountability, which is something that we talked about at great length. So I'll step down and let all my colleagues have an opportunity to speak on this issue.
And we have no further council members in the queue, so I'll recognize the chair of the Budget Fiscal Affairs Committee, Councilman Costello.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. I make a motion that we accept the quarterly financial report for the period ending December 31st, 2013, the quarterly swap report, and the quarterly investment report for the period ending December 31st, 2013.
Is there a second? Favor, opposed, motion carries.
Mayor Pro Tem, if I could just take